Welfare dependency is at a 30-year low. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.heise here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee. Let's look at this article from ABC News. So Josh Frydenberg said welfare dependency was at a 30-year low, and this is a fact check. Is that correct? So let's have a look. Yes, but there's more to it. Of course, the ABC can't just say yes. So let's see what their more to it is. So, the coalition government has reassured Australians that the nation is well placed to emerge strongly from the coronavirus crisis, in large part because of its handling of the economy in the years leading up to the pandemic. Really? Okay. This is the thing, guys. I'm of the opinion that trying to manage a complex emergent system, it's always going to have more unintended consequences that you can't predict with our current technology, years or even months or decades down the track. That's the problem. So anyone who claims that they can manage the economy better than the others, I would argue more for the invisible hand and looking at ways to kind of pull government back out of our lives and out of the economy. But that would probably be, for the champagne sipping socialists, it would seem a bit too cruel for them, even though it may be the best thing that could happen to people. It could create the best opportunities for people. We can't have that, though. We need them dependent. Treasurer Frydenberg recently pointed to the government's success in cutting the unemployment rate before the pandemic, claiming this had produced the lowest welfare dependency for 3 decades. And let's not forget that going into the crisis, we saw welfare dependency at a 30-year low, because we got the unemployment rate down, Frydenberg told ABC's Insiders program. Is it correct the welfare dependency was at the lowest level in 30 years before the crisis sent the economy into reverse? And can this be attributed to lower unemployment? The RMIT, ABC fact checkers, investigated. And the verdict, yes. The data shows welfare dependency is at a low. But there is more to the story than Frydenberg's claims suggest. FactCheck relied on 2 measures of welfare dependency when assessing Frydenberg's claims: the proportion of the working age population being paid a major welfare benefit, and the proportion of households getting at least half of their income in the form of government benefits. In the case of the former, about 14% of working age Australians were receiving a major welfare benefit in June 2019, the lowest rate since the early 1990s. And in the case of the latter, 22.5% of households relied on government benefits for more than half of their income in 17 and 18, the lowest since at least 94-95, when the current statistics series was started. Well, that's good. That is good. You do not want welfare dependency. Welfare dependency should be something that is discouraged. You want people to be independent, in control of their lives. It'll lead to a happier life, everyone. I do not think they're going to be people sitting there trying to, work their way onto welfare and work the system because that's the good life. Not by any measure, everyone. It should be a temporary thing that, if you have to depend on it, you use it. But you build yourself up again. You'll feel happier. And I'm sure most people it's going to be a tough time right now getting into a job. And I'm sure most people are trying their best. They're going to be some bludgers, okay? There's always going to be some freeloaders all the time. That always happens. It's just a part of human nature. But this is the thing. If the government intervenes in the market to set a minimum bar for wages and a minimum bar for conditions, it's going to price some people that can't reach the productivity to reach that minimum level in the market. So you'd have a duty of care to take care of them. If you've taken advantage of those systems, then you've got a duty of care to the people that are priced out of the market because of it. Although falling slightly short of the timeframe referred to by Frydenberg, no. Both measures lend weight to the claim that welfare dependency had reached the lowest level for 30 years before the pandemic struck in early 2020. However, consulted experts, what? Am I the only one that's getting sick and tired of hearing from experts? Experts consulted by FactCheck noted that lower levels of unemployment had not been the only reason for this shift. And here's the reality, because, if we let's look at Roy Morgan unemployment data, guys. It's different to the ABS data. They use different terminology. And the methodology of, you find it on Google, type in Roy Morgan unemployment data. You can look at the methodology they use here. It's different to the ABS. And I kind of prefer it because it gives a more accurate snapshot. They're saying our unemployment and underemployment rate combined together is 21.7%. Unemployment 11.7%, underemployment 10% of the workforce. That's a big chunk, guys. That feels more accurate. But it also depends on the circles you're associating with, the people that you hang out with, your friends, your family. There may be some people that don't know anyone who's unemployed, with others who know a lot of people who are unemployed. I guess it's one of the things in being in the construction industry. We tend to get a bit of a cross section of the people you're dealing with. So, government policy changes have also played an important role. These have included the introduction of tougher eligibility rules and obligations for payments, such as unemployment benefits and the disability support pension, the abolition of some payments, and declining payment rates relative to wages for some types of income support. Moreover, in the years leading up to 2020, there was a significant increase in the number of working-age people in Australia not entitled to Social Security. This growing cohort includes international students, working holiday visa holders, and skilled migrants, and an unknown number of New Zealanders whose Social Security rights were redundant from the early 2000s. It also includes recently arrived permanent residents who now face a 4-year wait before they can receive government benefits. Although difficult to quantify precisely, this increase has had the effect of lowering welfare dependency relative to the labour market. So what does it mean to be dependent on welfare? There is some subjectivity surrounding the notion of welfare dependency. Roger Wilkins, Deputy Director of the Melbourne Institute of Applied Economics and Social Research, pointed to a simple definition. He said an individual getting an income support payment from the government could reasonably be regarded as welfare dependent. There are a few different ways of defining welfare dependency, but receiving an income support payment, that means one's being job seeker, disability support payment, parenting payment, youth allowance, and carer payment, is a satisfactory definition of welfare dependent, Professor Wilkins told Fact Check. The Department of Social Security publishes data showing the number of income support payments for various types of welfare. Peter Whitefoot, a professor of ANU's Crawford School of Public Policy, said individuals can only legally get one major income support payment, ruling out double counting for major payment types. Income support payments are mutually exclusive, so you can't legally receive more than one at a time, the professors told Fact Check. So these numbers are for income support payments only and will be correct at a point in time, usually the end of June each year. The level of welfare dependency is often expressed as a proportion of the working age population, 16 to 64. This accounts for changes to the size of the labour market over time as a result of population growth or other demographic changes. Following advice from both Professor Whitefoot and Professor Wilkins, Fact Check combined Department of Social Services income support payment data with Australian Bureau of Statistics demographic data to measure the proportion of working age population receiving an income support payment at the end of June each year. Welfare dependency can be measured using data from the Survey of Income and Housing published by the ABS. Among other things, the data includes the proportion of households relying on the government for at least half of their income. This offers a second measure of welfare dependency. Mr. Frydenberg referred to welfare dependency as going into a crisis. Australia's first coronavirus case was recorded in late January 2020. In assessing Frydenberg's claim, Fact Check has relied on both data sources, bearing in mind that neither covers the time frame he referred to precisely. Wow, they're really digging into this when it's going down. They've said it themselves. The proportion of working age population getting an income support payment from the government peaked at about 23% in 96. Falling to 16% in 2008, it rose again in the wake of the GFC before falling from 2014 to a low of just over 14% in 2019. This supports Frydenberg's claim that welfare dependency was at the lowest level in 30 years before the onset of the pandemic, so household income. As discussed, another way to assess welfare dependency is household income and wealth data published by ABS. The latest figures show that 22.5% of households were receiving at least half of their income from the government during the 17-18 financial year. This was the lowest level since the 94-95 when the current series began. Fantastic. Although a household that receives at least half of its income from the government can reasonably be regarded as welfare dependent, it is worth noting the proportion of households that might be regarded as very welfare dependent was not the lowest, according to the latest data. In 1718, 15.2% of households received at least 90% of their income from the government. It was slightly higher than the figures, wow, 15% guys, than the figures for 7 and 8 at 14.3 and 15.1 at 13.14. That's a big chunk of Australians. So lower unemployment, the reason for lower welfare dependency. Frydenberg claimed the historic low rate of welfare dependency had been achieved because we got the unemployment rate down. Experts consulted by Fact Check said lower unemployment was only one part of the explanation. Professor Whiteford has estimated the level of welfare dependency stretching back from almost 5 decades. He said that by his calculations, welfare dependency in 2019 was in fact at the lowest level since 1980. We're not in 2080 yet, Florian. Calm down. However, Professor Whiteford said it was not clear the decline in welfare dependency was entirely due to low unemployment. The following graph shows major payment types as a proportion of the working age population. What do we have here? You've got disability, 4.6 up from 3.3, unemployment benefits down from 7.3 to 4.2, parenting payments 2.5 to 1.9, carer payments have skyrocketed. They've gone up to 1.7%. Why have they gone up so much? Youth allowance from 2.5 to 1.1. Interesting. So it shows the number of individuals receiving unemployment benefits as a proportion of the working age population was not at the lowest levels for 3 decades in 2019. On the other hand, there have been significant declines in the proportion of working age population getting a parenting payment, youth allowance, and in recent years the disability support pension. Both Professor Whiteford and Wilkins pointed out that while employment growth had made an important contribution to lower welfare dependency, changes to welfare policy, including the tougher rules and abolition of various payments, had also played a significant part. Some of the tough rules forced people from other more generous payments onto unemployment benefits. This partly explains an increase in the proportion of people receiving unemployment benefits. For example, in 2012, the former Labor government introduced tougher eligibility rules to qualify for the disability support pension, pushing thousands of additional people onto unemployment benefits paid at a much lower rate. Professor Wilkins said changes over the years included increasing conditionality of payments, especially in the case of unemployment benefits and parenting payments, tightening of eligibility criteria, especially for the disability support pension and parenting payments, and elimination of a range of payment types, especially for parenting, for partner women and people aged over 45, and a decline in payment rates for some allowances relative to average incomes in the community. Commonwealth governments of the last 30 years can certainly claim credit, but I'm not sure all the decline is something to be proud of, Wilkins said. Reduced access to benefits will have increased economic hardship for at least some members of the community. And you've got to realize you've got some people that are on welfare, and as an employer, are you going to hire them? That's the hard reality of it, the harsh reality. If someone's been on welfare for 5 years, for 10 years, would you hire them? Would you take the risk of bringing them into your organization if they don't have the work ethic? If they've never worked? What if they've got other issues in their lives? Would you even want to have a bar of them? That's the reality, guys. So it's a trap. If you get into this, it'll be bloody hard to get out. That's why the government needs to reduce impediments to people maybe starting their own business. You know, you can't even start a lemonade stand. You need permits to do everything in this country. That disincentivizes people from working. That creates the need for this type of thing. Professor Whiteford also pointed out that a complicating factor was a change in the share of residents working age population not eligible for Social Security. In particular, he said, up until 2020, there was a significant increase in temporary residents without Social Security entitlements. These included students, backpackers, and skilled migrants, as well as an unknown number of New Zealanders whose Social Security rights have been reduced since the early 2000s. I mean, if Kiwis are living here, why don't you become citizens? Shouldn't that be, frankly, your country can join the Federation. Shouldn't the option to switch and become an Aussie citizen be, easy? It shouldn't be hard. Why not? I would rather New Zealand joins the Federation. You've got a more advanced economy. We need you in here, but still. These migrants can't get income support, but have boosted the working age population, and I'm pretty sure that this will have a moderately significant effect on the welfare dependency rate. He said, okay, so they're pushing the numbers of the workforce up, but they're not eligible for welfare. So there you go. It looks like there's less people on welfare. This argument was supported by the Grattan Institute's policy analyst, Henry Schnell, an expert in migration policy. He said that there have been growing numbers of temporary and permanent residents ineligible for welfare. He estimated that temporary residents ineligible for welfare now made up between 6 and 8% of the labour market. In addition, permanent arrivals are now made to wait up to 4 years, up from 2 years before being eligible for welfare. Well, is that a bad thing, everyone? Wouldn't you expect that? You don't want people to just rock up in the country and get welfare. Then you get the mess of what happens in Europe, where, the refugees will shop from one country to the other. Why do you think they all wind up in UK or Northern Europe? Yeah, it's the weather. Yeah, sure, that's why. He said this cohort now made up a further 2 to 3% of Australia's labour market. One of the things that has happened since the mid-1990s is that there has been a growing number of people ineligible for benefits because of changing conditions of visas, he said. So there we have it, everyone. Frydenberg is right, but there's a whole lot of other stuff to consider. But there you go. Welfare dependency is at the lowest level it has been in some time. What do you think? Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. Thank you all for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and enjoy the content, there's a few ways you can support the channel. You can join us on YouTube or Patreon. You can support us using any of our affiliate links from Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or AussieBroadband. You can buy a merch from HeiseSays, use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, or you can support us via PayPal. You can also join MeetRx or SelfWealth to help us those ways. Both of those ways. Take care, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.